information for me to base my decision on. Second, I want to address the issue of the transfer. The transfers from the water fund to the general fund should not have been made to begin with. If we actually did have a $7 million surplus for last year, what we should do is, at a minimum, last year's water transfer should be transferred back to the water fund, the $4.16 million. With that transfer, I think, Peter, you can do those projects that you brought up here, about $3.7 million. Those projects that were that are urgent, that need to be done, which I agree with, they should be done. In addition to that, I think we should go back 5 years and add up all the transfers that we've done over the past 5 years, approximately $20 million, and issue a note to the water fund to pay back those funds on an annual basis, on a pay-as-you-go basis, to pay it back to the water fund, so that the ratepayers that have paid those funds to the city they should have paid it for the cost of the water, for providing the water, and they did not. It was, as mentioned, it was a line item, as was mentioned by Mr. Zavos. It was a line item. It was not a cost to the water department. Those funds should be transferred back. If we had a $7 million surplus this year, we should start with the $7 million, transfer it back to the water fund, and then the additional funds should be paid back, and the capital improvements that are necessary for this community for replacing the water lines should start from there. Question from the city attorney: When did the Proposition 218 when did Proposition 218 deem the transfers to be illegal in courts, not in terms of the city attorney's opinion, right, but in the courts? When was that decision made?
Well, Councilman Manoukian, there really isn't a decision on point that said transfer is illegal. But there have been a number of cases over time which, added together, caused Mr. Howard at the time to come to the conclusion that the transfers are illegal. There was a decision involving the city of Fresno. It wasn't a transfer. It was called a payment in lieu of taxes that they made. It wasn't until, though, 2006 when the California Supreme Court ruled at the Bighorn decision, which settled the question, which hadn't been resolved before then, which was 2006. Yeah, that was when there was still an open issue as to whether or not water rates were subject to Prop 218 in the first place. Okay. There have been conflicting court decisions. At that time, the Supreme Court ruled that water rates were indeed subject to Prop 218, and then the subsequent issue, there were some other decisions involving both the city of Roseville and the city of Fresno, whether either transfers or payment in lieu of taxes were authorized under Prop 218. I think it's still an open issue, but the court hasn't said definitively a particular transfer like ours is unconstitutional on Prop 218, but most likely we feel that's how a court would rule, and so that's why Mr. Howard advised to discontinue.
I will go to the Supreme Court decision of 2006, and that's where my 5 years comes in. I think the 5 years of transfers from 2006 and on should be paid back to the water fund, and that's where the capital improvements should be funded.